What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q. Well, Ilhan Omar is on her way out. She is seconds from getting the boot. Is there anything about this woman that isn't completely fraudulent? This woman started her relationship with the United States, coming in as a guest into our country, into our homeland. And by the way, she has at no point ever stopped criticizing our homeland, even though her own homeland is an absolute wasteland and a crap hole country. But she comes into this country, she criticizes as if she had any point of reference for something better. And by the way, if you do go there, but this woman comes here, begins her relationship with this nation by being fraudulent and having a fraudulent marriage between her and her brother. Now, I'm supposed to say allegedly here, but I've seen the paperwork. I've sat down with people in the Minnesota House, in the Minnesota Senate. I've looked at the paperwork. It's not too hard to prove that she was married to her brother in order to help move citizenship papers along. So that part should not even be disputed at this point. But then in addition to that, she has sat back in her own district. She's watched millions and millions of dollars be embezzled by her own constituents and own countrymen, has never at any point stood up and said, this is not how we act, this is wrong. She's never stood up for America, even though America stood up for her and welcomed her into its welcoming arms. So then in addition to that, she stood up and said, well, some people did something on 9/11. Not even showing reverence, not even admitting that the people who were part of her religion justified doing some very, very evil things on that day during 9/11. Forgive me for this win. So then fast forward now, we finally have people in the House. We finally have a president who says, you know what, we're sick of this. We're not going to continue to play these games. We're not going to continue to pacify a woman who at every turn chops down and cuts down and speaks ill of our own country. Meanwhile, she's serving as a representative. She's serving in the United States Congress, but yet she'll never miss an opportunity to talk about how racist and how awful our country is and how people don't have opportunities. But now this is the final straw. There are documents, financial disclosure documents that must be submitted to the governing bodies in order to serve in Congress. You're essentially a federal employee. You have to show how much you're worth and what you're worth or why you're worth that. You've got to show these disclosure documents. Now, the last time these documents were shown, she was supposed to be worth between $6 and $30 million, but that brought on a lot of scrutiny because there were many reports of her sending money back to Somalia and possibly money getting back into the hands of Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization. But now they've resubmitted those documents and they said, no, her total assets are worth $18,000 to $95,000. Where did all the money go? And how does that work? How do you have a rounding error that large? And then, just like every other Democrat, it's not her fault. It was the company who does her accounting. It was an accounting error. That's one heck of an accounting error. 95,000 down from 30 million? Are you kidding me? And then that raises another question. They say, oh, she's not rich at all. Why is this a race to the bottom? The woman is a United States Congresswoman. Why is it a race to the bottom? She makes over $200,000 a year, and she's worth 18,000 to 95,000? Really? After all of these years of being so, either you are fraudulent or you are stupid. One of the two. I'm not sure which one it is. Cannot quite make it up because at this point I know that we're being lied to. But I want to hear directly from the accounting firm in Minnesota or wherever this accounting firm is that mistook 18 to $95,000 net worth to be a $6 to $30 million net worth. And I also want to see some people go to jail because you falsified a document. She had to sign off on this. This is not just a, oh, well, I'm the victim. No, she signed off on a federal document and says, I certify that this is right, that this is correct. And guess what? She was a liar. You cannot sign off on your taxes and say, yes, I certify that this was correct. And then, oh, my accountant made an error. You think the IRS is going to care? If we live in a society in which no one is above the law, which the Democrats continue to remind us that no one is above the law, then I submit to you that Ilhan Omar has to stand trial for this and should be going to prison. End of story. She falsified federal documents, and that is the start, just the beginning. Start digging. You will find the rest of the fraud. The money that was being funneled from the daycare centers going to her campaign, it's there. I promise you. Let me know what you guys think about this story. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.